Hi, welcome back to the secret podcast of the worst pregnant person. That's me. Welcome back to episode 4. And in this episode, I thought I would share my 12-week scan experience with you. Because when I did my own research before my scan to understand what would happen, there are things that some websites left out that took me by surprise. So if you're new to this podcast, hi, I'm the worst pregnant person. I'm terrible at being pregnant. This is my first pregnancy, and I have been quite surprised with how I am coping with it. And I started this podcast, well, to complain, but also to inform and to maybe bring you some comfort in your own pregnancy. I know every pregnancy is different, and sometimes it's not as joyful as other times. So whatever stage you're at and whatever you're going through at the moment, I really hope you're looking after yourself. So I'm based in the UK and I'm using the wonderful NHS, of course, for my pregnancy. So this experience could be different in your country, but here's my experience. And if it is different in your country, if you live somewhere else, do let me know in the comments. I'd be very interested to hear about your experience. So I was extremely nervous before the scan, as I'm very aware that the first 12 weeks are sketchy territory. So I kind of blocked it out of my head until like the night before and until the day of the scan. I did, however, have a scan at 8 weeks. My dates were wrong and the hospital called me in early. I went in and they still did a scan for me, which was lovely of them, as I was thinking about paying for one privately, which is quite expensive. So I wasn't too keen on that. So I was very grateful that I did have a scan at 8 weeks. And at 8 weeks, a heartbeat was detected, which was reassuring. And the scan looked like a blob with a heartbeat. So for my 12-week scan, my partner and I signed in at reception, and the reception team gave me a consent form and asked me to sign it if I consented to do a blood test screening for Down syndrome, Edwards syndrome and Patau syndrome. It's your choice to be tested and you can either accept or decline. I consented, so they pointed me in the direction of the blood test department, as I call it, probably not the official name. And I went to get my bloods done. Then I returned to the scan department, as I call it. Definitely not the correct name. Now, they ask you to come to the scan with a full bladder. And to let you in on a little secret of mine, I have the weakest bladder. I'm known for this in my friendship circle. I've been on many a girls' holiday where a coach hasn't had a toilet on it and I wasn't able to hold my pee in. And I had to pee in a crisp packet on a coach once, but I thought to myself, I'm going to do this properly. So I sipped on a giant bottle of mineral water on the tube journey to the hospital, hoping the train wouldn't break down or face a delay in the tunnel. It didn't, which was great because that would have been a very messy situation. So sitting in the waiting room, waiting for the scan, I did have to go to the toilet twice, but every time I topped myself up with water after. We were finally called in, and the lovely scanning lady asked me to lie down on the couch and lower my trousers. She gave me some of that blue tissue paper to tuck into the bottom of my trousers so they wouldn't get covered in jelly. She then proceeded to put the cold gel on and scan me. Now, be warned, this can be quite uncomfortable, but manageable. But they really do press down hard, and at some points I was like, ooh, there was a problem. Apparently my bladder was too full as it was casting a shadow on the womb, and I didn't even imagine this could be a problem. So she asked me to go and empty my bladder. I returned and it was still too full, so she sent me back to the toilet and said, just try and empty it, take as long as you need. So I did. I returned, but she still wasn't happy with how empty it was. So she said this could be a concern that was caused by the pregnancy and said she was going to refer me to the bladder department after the scan because my bladder wasn't emptying very well. Anyway, she powered through, really pressing hard. At times I really did have to kind of like pinch my finger just to kind of cope with how uncomfortable the sensation was. But again, all for a good cause, all to make sure that she was getting the proper measurements and really having a good look in there. The thing that also took me by surprise was that I had to raise my hips off the bed and shake my hips to make the baby move. I had no idea this was a thing. Nobody told me about this, but apparently it's a common technique used. I can imagine the baby shaking around there in the womb like, hello, earthquake. I find it so weird, actually, that all of us humans, every single one of us came from a womb. We've all had that shared experience that just blows my mind. And we've entered the world in only 2 ways, so either by cesarean or by a vaginal birth. It's nice to know that we've all got that in common. Anyway, so after about half an hour, she managed to take all the measurements and everything looked fine, thankfully. She printed out the photo of the scan and then sent me on my way to the bladder department. There's no story here. Everything was fine with my bladder, thankfully. I just think I don't pass a lot of urine every time I pee, but there was no problem. So that was good. So yeah, that was the story of my 12-week scan. Again, I just wanted to share this with you, especially if you haven't been through pregnancy before, just so you know what to expect. Again, I know not every 12-week scan will be like this. Sometimes people won't get good news. Some people will, some people won't. So I do understand that. You have to kind of go in and manage your expectations until you find out what's happening in there, which is really scary. But yeah, I hope you found that useful and informative. And if you have had a different experience of your 12-week scan, do leave me a comment. If you're listening on Spotify, please do review the podcast. And yeah, I'll see you in episode 5. Thank you for being here. Look after yourself. Bye.